Most educational companies that I interact with and that I advise or I just keep a close eye on are invisible. And they're not invisible because they have a product that sucks or because their team is just not the best equipped to serve people or because they have no idea about what they're doing. Usually it's just because of two things. The first one is they're trying to be everything for everyone, which is such a repeated phrase, but it's so fucking true. And by this, I mean they're trying to claim, multiple ideas, multiple value propositions, multiple audiences. Then on the other side is all the promises that they're making are not promises that they can sustain for a long time from a competitive angle perspective, or that they are the best at being able to serve people at. So as an example, they might be this new app, let's say an ag tech, they are offering Harbor level education at $5 per month. And you immediately think, well, if Harbor is super specialized and different and premium, how the hell are you going to offer it for $5 per month? So immediately you get some kind of dissonance in what they're saying. But then on the other side, you're kind of asking yourself, well, Harbor must, there's prestige and there are a lot of variables involved, but there must be a reason why they have to charge so much. And as this AgTech starts developing itself, they might find that that claim that they're doing is just impossible to actually be able to sustain itself. In the process of helping a client actually solve this, I ended up writing a 75-page playbook on how to actually properly choose what makes your company different and then being able to revolve your entire marketing around it. And I asked ChatGPT about its price and it said you should charge $1,500 for it. I just gave it to this client for free. I might sell it for half. I have no idea. But one of the chapters of the playbook is actually what you're about to learn today, which is how to pick your strategic lane, how to actually find proof points so that you can deliver it. And I've been mentioning the concept of lanes because it's the way in which Michael Porter, many people call it the father of competitive strategy, talks about the ways to differentiate. He talks about only having 3, not 5, not 7, not 10. You only have 3 ways as a company to actually gain a competitive advantage over everyone else. First one is cost leadership. The second one is you have to be different. And the third one is you have to just focus and be a specialist on something. And before I tell you which one you might consider actually picking, let me actually just read a little bit of what I wrote down for you. So lane number 1, cost leadership. You usually win by having lower costs than anyone else. This lets you charge or sustain higher margins at similar prices. The key thing here is this isn't about cutting corners on quality. It's about ruthless efficiency, economies of scale, automation, high utilization. You cut every frill that doesn't directly serve the core offering. And that's how you keep cost leadership. Think Khan Academy, it's free. Or think about Duolingo. If you actually wanted to learn languages, you would just go somewhere else. But given how literally free Duolingo can be and how accessible and how immediate it can be, it just outperforms most language learning kind of solutions out there. And if through the process that I'm about to tell you, probably 2 minutes or so, you've defined that you have to be a cost leader, positioning ideas related around the essence of being the most affordable or free for everyone might fit. But something like premium, personalized attention, please don't do it. Because it just requires high labor costs that you'll be unable to sustain. So you might be able to say the thing, but you will not be able to back it. Now we're going to go into lane number 2. And this is what I wrote down, differentiation. You offer something that customers perceive as valuable, allowing you to charge premium prices. This could be superior quality, innovation, brand, experience, or service. You invest heavily in what makes you different. And customers choose you because of that difference, not price. So you can think about a Montessori school or a Waldorf school or a school like the one in which I'm an executive at, the Socratic Experience. It's a K-12 virtual school in which every single class is based on Socratic dialogue. So there are no lectures. A lot of the people who invest in methods like Montessori, Waldorf, or the Socratic Experience do so because we're so different and just incapable of being easily replicable by any competitor out there. If you're a differentiator, positioning ideas like you're the only, let's say, method in a city that exists, or something like personalized outcomes, they might fit. But something like you're the most affordable, please don't do so, because then it clashes with the fact of being different. And then I'm about to read you lane number 3, which is just focus. When you're a company that chooses to focus or make focus the competitive advantage that they have, you serve a specific segment or niche extremely well. Within that niche, you're either the cheapest or the most unique. So the specialization itself becomes your competitive advantage. You tailor everything, product, marketing, operations, to one audience or one use case. Think about something like Kumon or Kumon. I don't know. I'm just pronouncing it how I know it in Spanish, but they focus on math and reading, and I believe that's about it. There's not full K-12 curriculum that they're trying to sell. Or maybe it's Linda Bell, which focuses on struggling readers. Companies like this build a competitive advantage by resisting the temptation to expand because that would dilute their positioning. And if you're focused like them, Positioning ideas like you're the niche specialist or you're built exclusively for a specific audience, similarly to how my positioning firm is exclusively for alternative education companies, a lane like being focused and a specialist might be a fit for your brand. But saying something like we're for every single K-12 student, or if I had a firm like mine and just say that I'm from literally every education company out there, rest assured that I'm not claiming any sort of competitive advantage that way. And in the process of writing this 75-page or so playbook for this particular client and working with them over their position in the unique idea that they want to hold in people's minds for their company, and it's the one idea over which we're gonna revolve their entire marketing around, I realized that there's so many things that I've done in the past to help companies choose their competitive advantage. But honestly, given the fact that most educational companies don't have any sort of competitive advantage, or at least they don't communicate, or they have no idea about what it is, I'm gonna give you a literally process just based on answering some questions that I came up with, and it should be enough, at least for now, if you have nothing. Question number 1, you're gonna ask yourself, are you the cheapest in your category? If the answer is yes, chances are the cost leadership might be a route that you can consider. If the answer is no, we're gonna move on to the second question. Do we offer something unique that customers can't get elsewhere and are willing to pay more for? If the answer is yes, you're likely to be able to differentiate and choose differentiation as your competitive advantage. If the answer is no, you're gonna move on to question number 3, which is, do we serve a very specific niche better than anyone else, or operationally, could we get to that point? And if the answer is yes, you can choose focus as your strategic lane. And then you might ask yourself, this sounds like a super easy process to go through, but I might fall in the middle. And if you fall in the middle of any of these, I'm not gonna tell you mix it up. I'm not gonna tell you choose the one that your gut tells you that you should go with, but instead I'm gonna tell you, take a hard look at the financials of your company, at the kind of team that you had, go on customer conversations and ask them what they actually like from your company, record your sales calls, because chances are that if you fall in the middle, you have not a clear enough understanding of what makes your company different. And unless you have that baseline, you will not be able to say if you could have cost leadership, or that you could just focus on the fact that you're different, or you can just focus on the fact that you focus on something. And now, because this has been very much along the lines of theoretical, let me read you some examples that I came up with. So a micro school might be and say, hey, are we the cheapest? They might be like, no, our tuition is like $25,000, and there are incredible alternatives for way less, like, again, the Socratic experience. So chances are that we don't have, or we cannot claim cost leadership. But do we offer something unique? Yes, perhaps this particular micro school is the only one with 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. hours for working parents in a specific area. So maybe the lane that they get to choose is just differentiation. Example number 2, maybe you're an online math platform. Are we the cheapest? Maybe the answer is yes, an immediate yes. Maybe they're $5 per month, and competitors are usually $20 to $30 per month. So the lane this particular company might choose to focus on is just cost leadership. Example number 3, maybe you're an after-school coding bootcamp type of thing. Are you the cheapest? Maybe no. Are you different or unique? Not really. There are a lot of online coding programs. It's kind of like a meme right now. It seems like everyone has one. But do you serve a specific niche? Well, maybe you do. Maybe you only serve complete beginners ages 7 to 9 who have been recently diagnosed with ADHD. Maybe that's a niche that you can go for, and that's the kind of competitive lane that you should lean on if you're trying to be known for focusing or being a specialist on something. And now here's where it gets tricky, or where a lot of dreams are kind of lost. You might have chosen your competitive lane, and you might be quite confident in your ability to be able to survive on it, or just like make it stronger. But usually what companies forget is whether either they can sustain it long term, or whether they are already doing it. And let me clarify that by just giving you a few examples. So what I usually make companies do is that after we've chosen a lane, I have them write as many facts about how they're already living up to that competitive advantage as possible. And the key point is actually seeing, is this something that we're doing, or is this something that would be nice, or is this something that we're basically lying for our marketing because it's not happening internally? Let me give you a few examples of how this might look like that I wrote down for you. So let's say you chose cost leadership. Well, you have to prove that you have structural cost advantages. Maybe you have an automated curriculum, which means no teachers, or you have 50,000 users across very low fixed cost. Or maybe you're a lean 8-person team that is competing usually with maybe schools that are 40, 50 staff members plus. Or maybe you have no physical locations. Again, like the virtual school that I mentioned earlier, just Socratic experience. In that case, that's a pretty good saving compared to, the local physical school. So those are a few facts that, might work in your advantage. But what if you chose differentiation? Well, you have to prove that you have unique capabilities. Let me read some of the ones that I came up with. So, maybe you have extended hours. So it's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. versus competitors who only offer the regular, let's say 9 to 12, 9 to 2 p.m. All teachers may be AMI certified Montessori guys, which is a huge plus for a lot of families. Maybe you have a 5-to-1 student teacher ratio versus competitors who usually have 10-to-1 or maybe 20-to-1 or maybe 30-to-1. Maybe you just have a cool lunch included on site by, some, I don't know, a chef from a different city every single month. That would be pretty dope. Not city, actually country. Those might be some facts that might support the fact that you can claim to be different. What if you choose focus though? Well, if you choose focus, you have to prove that you're already deeply specialized. So maybe the curriculum is built specifically for ages 7 to 9, or maybe there's 0 prior experience required for anyone who's joining, let's say, this coding bootcamp. Or maybe you only have, 6 kids max per, let's say a hackathon versus competitors, which usually have 50. Or maybe, again, let's keep going with this online coding bootcamp type of thing. Maybe you have debugging parties that celebrate mistakes rather than, just celebrating who ships the most code fastest. And there's a reason behind having to go through the naming of all of these potential facts about your educational company. And by facts, I mean what is already happening or what could actually confidently happen in terms of our ability to fulfill on any of these 3 lanes that we think we can differentiate ourselves by. If you don't cross-reference, you might just have this maybe list of 10 potential ways of communicating a particular competitive advantage, but not realizing that 9 of them are not supported by actual things that are happening within your company. So usually that's why a lot of the exercises that I like to do is that I'm always having ideas on one side, and then on the other side I'm having facts, and I'm just cross-referencing, kind of like a checklist. It's like, if I say that I'm a math app that builds confident future STEM lovers, but then my capabilities don't support that, or maybe like why would I even mention that, if there are so many potential lines that I could go on. So by this point, you'll have the following things already done. You have the lane that you think you might be able to differentiate yourself by. You have a list of proof points to support one lane or another. You probably chose already a positioning idea that fits any of these lanes. And you also know the other side, which is which lanes or which position ideas or which ways to communicate your company's radical difference contradict what's already happening within your company. And I want you to really nail them down and write them down, because this will become your filter for every decision that you make forward when it comes to the kind of view and image that you want your company to portray to the world. So anything that you say through your marketing, any way in which you look through, let's say, in-person facilities, or even the way in which you dressed up to show up in specific events, it's all driven by what this unique idea that you just defined kind of informs or influences or is trying to convey. I did write down a playbook for a client, but I have no idea if I will release it, but chances are that I might at one point. Again, GPT said that could be sold for $1,500. I can always take new salsa lessons. I love dancing, so might be something that I end up releasing. So if you're interested in this, either subscribe, because I might just put it up for free at one point, or I might just keep releasing mini bits of it throughout my YouTube channel, or do so in case I end up just slashing the price down from the $1,500 that I'm being suggested and maybe publishing it for even half. Who knows, maybe a little bit lower.